I'm Steve Charles. I'm a vitreoretinal surgeon in Memphis, Tennessee, in the United States. The name of my practice is Charles Retina Institute. I've been in practice for close to 46 years. I'm an engineer as well. I've taught in 51 countries. I've got over 100 patents, and I've done 40,000 or so vitrectomy procedures. Regarding my mentors, it's three, and because that overlap the three categories of things that I do. I like to say that I do teaching, technique, and technology. And so my father was a college professor and was a terrific speaker. He was actually an art historian, so but I attended many of his lectures and was a projectionist for him. So I kind of learned his extemporaneous speaking style without notes or a script from him. My maternal grandfather was a mechanical engineer. I spent a lot of time with him growing up. I went to the factory every day. I had a drawing board. I thought I was a design engineer when I was in elementary school. And I've got over 100 patents, and I do mechanical and electrical and now optical system design. And then from an academic perspective, I was fortunate enough to go to med school in Miami, Florida, where the Bascom Palmer Eye Institute is located, which is the #1 eye institute. And Dr. Edward D. Norton built the Bascom Palmer Eye Institute. He was president of the Academy, president of the Retina Society, member of the Club Jules Guinan, and a very inspirational guy. And he took me under his wing, if you will, when I was a first-year medical student. Gave me an indirect ophthalmoscope, accepted me to the residency program when I was a sophomore student outside the Match, and guided my career. So those three people were incredibly important. And then I learned a bit from my my paternal uncle, who was my godfather, who was the president of the Colon Rectal Surgery Society. And he was just a total gentleman with the way he was kindly and thoughtful and a humanitarian. So I try to emulate the behavior of these four people in my life. My in terms of achievements, in terms of honors, I would say it was the Academy of Ophthalmology, American Academy of Ophthalmology Laureate Award. That's their top award. I also received the what's called the Wacker Medal of the Club Jules Guinan, their highest medal, and I gave the Scapins lecture for the Retina Society, and I also gave the Charles D. Kelman lecture for the ASCRS from an awards perspective. But in terms of contributions, not awards, it'd be a number of machines I've developed, all of which are with Alcon, the Ackers, the Constellation, and before that, Midlabs. And then on the technique side, there's a list, but hopefully I won't bore your listener, but endodrainage to subretinal fluid, fluid air exchange, forceps membrane peeling, scissor segmentation, scissor delamination, retinectomy, subretinal surgery, endophotocoagulation, real-time B-scan, linear suction, medium-term PFO. So those are some of the main ones that vitreoretinal surgeons seem to use worldwide. Well, I've been fortunate enough to be on the road, so to speak. I've lectured in 51 countries. I've operated in 25, and I'm fortunate enough to feel like a colleague and a friend with the top vitreoretinal surgeons worldwide. There are because the medical retina and surgical retina are separate in many nations. The surgical volumes are quite high, and their innovation quotient is quite high. So I have friends in Japan and in the Netherlands and in Germany and in France and in Italy that have contributed to the literature. And again, I'm fortunate enough to interact with these people at these meetings and learn from them. It's wonderful to be part of an international community. I've been involved with Orbis, the Flying Eye Hospital, for 3 generations of airplanes now, the DC-8 and the MD-10 and the DC-10, and have been in many countries with Orbis, but many other trips just independent of any particular organization, just invited to speak. But you know, when you go to other countries, I'm never a tourist. I never ever shop, do vacation type things. I think it's inappropriate. I'm there to work with the surgeons and help as much as I possibly can, and not do anything selfish. And that's allowed me to have really wonderful, collegial relationships and friendships with these people over 45 years now. I'm went to engineering school first, and people ask me the question, didn't you used to be an engineer? And frankly, that offends me. No, I'm an engineer now. I've filed some 25 patents, and then people will say, are you an inventor? Well, that's some maybe defined by patents. I'm not defined by patents or inventorship. Engineers are problem solvers. And so I'm self-taught in electrical engineering. I'm self-taught in optics and photonics. And so it's not about entrepreneurship. It's not about vanity patents that make you look good on your CB or ego. It's about problem solving. And so it's always been practical things. Linear suction, for example, is on every phaco and vitrectomy machine, and I invented that. Disposable vitreous cutters are used, and on every company uses disposable cutters, and I developed that with the late Carl Wong. Endophotocoagulation, every vitreoretinal surgeon uses that. And so they were frankly a little more simplistic in the early years, but as the complexity of the machines with more, the current machine being developed at Alcon has 150 engineers on the design team. So no one person thought of anything, but being a part of that team and embedded with them, I've never worked with any company but Alcon for 30 years now. And that allows me to be embedded with the engineering team and function as a fellow engineer design person, as opposed to a doctor that comes in and reacts to things they've designed. And that's exactly why I went into medicine. I literally went into surgery knowing my first day in medical school that I wanted to design medical equipment and be a really active surgeon. If you don't operate and you used to be a surgeon, you're not valid. And if you used to be an engineer, you're not valid. What makes me valid is that I don't take vacations. I haven't been on in 25 years. I don't watch movies. I don't go to plays. I don't go to concerts. I don't play golf. I don't play tennis. I don't fish. I only work. And every single day, holiday, night, weekend, I'm working on new product development and writing so it can communicate these ideas to people. I had a special day today that has a sad piece to it, but an interesting piece. Almost exactly 41 years ago today, I was at Westminster Abbey and in a processional in cap and gown, and I was the youngest surgeon there, and it was the centenary of the Ophthalmologic Society of the United Kingdom. Why does that relate to today? Because our processional was led by the now deceased Prince Philip with a jeweled scepter. And my oldest two daughters that are now physicians were there with me, and I emailed them today, and for them to remember that event, that they saw Prince Philip, who lived to age 99. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to 100, married to the Queen for 71 years, I guess. Quite a special day to remember that occasion. By most people's definition of hobbies, I don't have any, and I don't want any. I don't watch movies. I don't fish. I don't play golf. I work out. I lift weights like crazy. I've been doing that all my life. I'm stronger now than when I played football in high school many, many years ago. And so I lift weights, but I don't consider it a hobby. I consider it part of sustaining my health and my career, so I can be a dad and a granddad and a surgeon, an engineer, and a teacher. If I'm infirm, if I'm sick, I can't do those things. So then you alluded to the fact that I fly jets. I do, but I don't go to air shows. It's not about a fancy airplane. I don't do aerobatics, warplanes, none of that. It's about transportation. And so I can do a full list in the operating room on a Thursday. I operate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, get in my jet, which is 40 years old and not fancy, but it's safe and fast. Fly to California, have dinner with engineers, and do an 8, 10, 12-hour day with the engineering team. And or I can fly somewhere, even leaving surgery at 6 p.m. and get anywhere in the United States in order to participate in a retina surgery meeting the next day or to give lectures. So it simply is a transportation tool. Now, it's serious business to fly a jet, so I have an airline transport pilot rating. I have 6 jet type ratings. I can fly big aircraft like Gulfstreams and Falcon 50s. I used to own a 3-engine jet. So it's not about little vanity flying or hobby flying. It's about serious business transportation. But if you don't train all the time, you get killed. I'm going to sort of double down on your question. In terms of innovation, the biggest innovation in retina in 100 years is Napoleon Farrar cloning VEGF and developing anti-VEGF compounds. This has revolutionized the treatment of macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy and retinopathy prematurity and retinal vein occlusion, amongst many other disorders. So that's the biggest. Vitrectomy, which was first done clinically by my professor, Dr. Mockamer, has been another huge advance. But every generation of machines, the complexity's gone up. So the thing I'm looking forward to over the next decade is the next generation machine from Alcon and improved visualization. I use only Ingenuity, which is a 3D electronic visualization instead of the microscope, has much greater depth of field, and I'm working with Alcon in a variety of ways to make that far better. Some of which are sort of intellectual property that I can't disclose, but better visualization, I think, is the future. Someday I'd like to see silicone oil and gas go away and be replaced by ways of sealing up retinal breaks, and that's another big advance that I would look forward to.